What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Morning Mayhem. It's your boy Chris coming at you with another episode this week. Super thrilled to have you here with us and super thrilled to be here with you. Anybody who is new here, my name is Chris. I host a Friday morning 10 a.m. show. It is pre-recorded, it's not live. And it comes out 10 a.m. Friday mornings, and it's usually about an hour or so long. And then I cut the little segments up, release those throughout the week, mix those in sometimes with some reaction videos under the moniker of Mayhem Reacts. Also, we'll release some shorts. I've been getting into that this year. That's fun, little reaction shorts and silly shorts and whatnot. Kind of stupid shorts at times, but been putting those out too. So you get a little mix of everything throughout the week. And then Friday mornings, like I say, is the main show. Saturday nights, I head over to Saturday Night Off the Rails on Third Railify's channel. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And once a month on Mondays, the first Monday of every month, I do host my own live stream called Monday Night Mayhem. And I usually have a great panel of folks. So far, I hadn't had to do it by myself, so I'm super thrilled about that. And we got the anniversary show coming up of the channel. We'll talk more on that as we get closer. But guys, if you are new here, I do want to welcome you, obviously. If you're a returning viewer, I want to welcome you too. You guys are awesome. If you've already subbed, I appreciate that, followed or whatever, based off of whatever platform you're on. I appreciate that. And if you haven't, and you're back again, I appreciate that too. But we are shooting for 1,000 YouTube subs here. We're getting really close to that. I mean, really close. I think we're in striking distance of like 100 subs or right around 100 subs. So would love to get there by the anniversary show. That's going to be the 3rd, I think it is. February 3rd is the 1-year anniversary of the show. So it'd be kind of cool to get that. If we miss it, it's not the end of the world. But about 90% of you guys watching or returning watching are not subs. So, you know, if today's the day, consider it. I'd love it. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, we're all trying to do our thing out here and grow our channels. Speaking of which, I do want to give a huge shout out to a good friend of the show, the Front Porch Conservative. This past week, he hit 1,000 subs over on YouTube. And there's a pretty good chance his channel's been suppressed because of the conservative title in there. You guys know that certain platforms aren't exactly excited about conservative voices. So he is in the process of changing the name. Right now it's Talking on the Front Porch. He may be changing it again in the next week or so. So be on the lookout for that. But I'll leave a link to his channel down below. That won't change. But go support him, show him some love, and check him out. He just went over 1,000 subs finally. And I say finally because this guy, again, should have went over it a long time ago. More than likely, he was probably suppressed and being hidden in the shadows. So I'm super excited that more people have found him, more people are watching, and he's getting the love he deserves from YouTube and from his followers, of course. So hats off to you, Brian. Super excited for you, good friend. And I was on the live stream of the celebration of that. We had several creators jump on and off and just kind of drop in, celebrate with him a little bit, talk a little, you know, little shop talk, and then hop out. But really appreciate him. Wanted to give him a huge shout out because that's just a big deal. And again, we're getting dangerously close ourselves. So hoping that happens here in the very near future, kind of speaking that up, if you will. Another thing I want to promote, talk about before we get into the show is tomorrow night, if you guys are watching this on Friday, of course, that is. But Saturday Night Off the Rails, I go on Third Railify's channel. Spoken about him many times. Again, if you're new here, you've never heard this before. But Third Railify, a good friend of the channel, a good friend of mine, personal friend, just a fantastic guy. He has a channel called Third Railify on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern time. He hosts Off the Rails. And believe me, it's off the rails. It's not only third rail, but it's off the rails. It's a crazy show every single week. And I've been very blessed and very fortunate to be able to co-host that with Sean over there for several months now. And we have had a blast, just he and I, a couple of guests here and there. We've had some very special guests. We just had the QAnon shaman on not too long ago. We've had a good friend of the channel who's becoming a kind of a creator himself. That was involved with Marvel and Endgame and some of the promotion and marketing with all of that. And he's gotten involved with that. And this coming Saturday, tomorrow night, I'm super thrilled to announce that we have the Based Mother coming on the channel. So if you guys know who she is, you already know her, you already love her. She's amazing. If you're not familiar with her, She's awesome. You won't want to miss this because she's a lovely lady. She dresses nice. She's put together well. You'd think she's going to come to the mic and just, be the super pleasant, wonderful person. And she will just, go to town on anything and everything and tear it up. All the woke stuff, all the madness that's out there in the world, all the indoctrination of our children. She's got a short documentary that's out there. We're going to talk about that. I've watched it. It's fantastic. You guys know I'm a filmmaker, so I really, really enjoyed that. So I can't wait to speak with her. Can't wait to get to know her and let you guys get to know her a little better. So plan on putting that on your calendar. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, third Railify's channel. I'll leave a link down there to his channel. Now, keep in mind, you don't have to wait till tomorrow night to go over there and check him out. He's already got shows he does all throughout the week. And then Saturday nights, he does his live stream. Go ahead and head on over, give him a like, a sub, a follow. He is trying to get back in YouTube's good graces, I think, possibly. So go check him out on YouTube if you're there. If not, most of his stuff is on exclusively on Rumble. All the live stream stuff is on Rumble exclusively. So if you're already over there, you can just pretty much stay over there. But give him a like, give him a follow, all that good stuff. And we will have an amazing, amazing show tomorrow night with the based mother. So super thrilled to have her on. But we'll go ahead and get into the show a little bit here. Let's take a look at what we've got on today's show. First up, we're going to talk about some safety concerns we have for Trump with everything going on in D.C. that's already going on, and of course the multiple things that are going on this weekend building up to the inauguration and everything. We're going to hit on a couple of things there that's come to our attention that's a little concerning. Some stuff we probably want to kind of keep in the back of our minds. Jimmy Kimmel being a hypocrite and a whiny douche. I know it doesn't say that, but I thought it needed to be said. All right. Jimmy Kimmel being a hypocrite, and it's not just Jimmy, to be fair. It is mainstream media. It is a lot on the left that are doing it. And that's not to say the right doesn't do it at times too, but we're going to look at the most current event, and, all roads kind of lead to the left on that one. Celebrity responses to the wildfires. That's going to kind of tie into that previous one with Jimmy Kimmel. Different celebrities respond in different ways, and we're going to look at that. We got some more nostalgia bait from Hollywood potentially coming out. A couple of films that are near and dear to my heart, maybe getting sequels, rebooted, prequels, something. I don't know. But we're going to talk about that, see what you guys think. And last but not least, I wanted to do it last week, but I was like, nah, let's go ahead and get that first show out of the way. We're going to do our 2024 box office recap and some reviews of films that I have personally seen. So there you have it. There's the lineup for today. Super excited to go through all that. But first, before we do have our clip of the week.
Mr. Hegseth, are you attracted to obese Hawaiian women with a below normal IQ?
No, Senator.
Mr. Hegseth, are you aware that I used the potty all by myself today?
No, Senator.
Mr. Hegseth, you seem to be pretty fertile. If confirmed, would you commit to putting a baby in me?
Oh, God.
No, Senator.
Mr. Hegseth, are you saying under oath that you refuse to impregnate a portly Hawaiian retarded woman, even if she can use the potty all by herself?
Oh, that was good. We had a few different clips that were submitted this week. That one tickled the funny bone the most, I think. And it's, it's relevant to everything that's going on this week. So a few different reasons why I guess we went with that one. But do want to give the person who submitted that a shout out. So this week's clip comes from a good friend of the show, Leah. Leah is someone who watches the show on a regular basis, reposts it, shares it, comments, whatever. All the time. She is on X. She's a follower on there. She's always in the live chats every time we're live on Monday Night Mayhem or Saturday Night Off the Rails or pretty much anywhere. In fact, I mentioned earlier, Brian from the Front Porch Conservative hitting 1,000 subs. Leah was a huge part of that. Not only just her support and her getting the word out of him, but her getting him and myself and a few others kind of linked together And of course, we fed each other. We fed off of each other. We fed each other and pushed each other and helped each other out. And yeah, she's kind of the one that brought all that together. So I want to give a huge shout out to Leah just for multiple reasons. And aside from that, I don't think there's any secret, and she doesn't mind me sharing this. Her boyfriend is actually out in California right now fighting the wildfires. So prayers for him, prayers for her as she's, waiting by, praying every day, hoping every day that he comes home safe. And so hats off to your boyfriend. I've told you that personally so many times, but anyone who knows Leah, she's fantastic. But yeah, keep her boyfriend in the prayers. He's out there fighting these wildfires, and that's some dangerous stuff right there. Yeah, so if you run across an interesting, funny, or informative clip, consider dropping it in my X feed every Monday morning. It's usually when I'll post it. I'll do a call for the clip of the week, and if you find something funny, again, interesting, informative, relevant, irrelevant, whatever, irreverent too, you can drop that down below, and I'll kind of go through them and see what fits the show format the best, or what tickles my funny bone the most, or whatever. And we'll throw it on the show and give you a shout out like we did for Leah right there. Definitely want to do that. And again, it's one of those ways I want to try to connect to you guys a little bit more. I already have those live streams once a month on my channel, and really enjoy interacting with you guys in the chat. So this is just another way for us to interact a little bit more, have a little closer community and all that. So really excited about that. So if you're not following me on X, that would be a good idea. I didn't pick one of her clips, but I do want to give a shout out to another special friend of the show that did put some clips in there, and that is Gina. Go follow her on X. Leah's links will be down in the show notes below as well. I know she's a little pickier about folks that follow her. She's got one of those restricted or whatever it is. I'm still kind of just learning X, so I don't know. But Gina, go follow her. She is another content creator. She's been on Monday Night Mayhem Live. She's been on Third Railify's Off the Rails. She used to co-host Lose Views podcast. You guys have heard me mention that channel and that show quite often. And I know she's doing some stuff with some X Spaces right now, but she's about to launch her own channel, and we are super, super thrilled and super supportive of her doing that. So go follow her on X. She'll be rolling out the name of it, where it's going to be, when it's going to be, and all that fun stuff. And we want to definitely show her some love too. So to Leah and Gina, both of you have just been amazing, supportive, awesome, and you both deserve a shout out. So I wanted to give both of you ladies that. So thank you, girls, so much. All right. First segment today, we're going to talk about Trump safety. So it's been kind of in the news a little bit, and other podcasters or YouTubers or rumblers or whatever you want to call them. People are a little concerned. Things are starting to kind of be spoken about in the backgrounds and whispers and whatnot that we may be looking at some concerns this coming weekend for Trump. So, you can watch this after the weekend and look back and say, Chris had no idea what he was talking about. Everything was perfectly fine. It was great. Or you say it was absolute pandemonium and chaos. Chris was way off. He thought it wasn't going to be anything major. I don't know what it's going to be. It may not be anything at all, but there's a few calls for concern, and I want to just kind of present those to you again, because I think it's important that we have our antenna up. If you're a carry, if you have your carry license, right, you want to have your antenna up. Not because you want to go do something. You don't want to ever have to use it. You don't want to have to defend anybody. You want to de-escalate any other kind of way. But if you're in a situation that could be risky, you always have that antenna up. We've been talking about this for a long time. I know I can't remember who it was. And I don't think it was Dan Bongino. We're going to go to a clip of him in just a minute. But there was somebody else was saying there was, the risk element of somebody taking out Trump. And of course, we saw the one assassination attempt. It may have been Tucker Carlson. But of course, we saw the one assassination attempt on camera. And then there was the other one at the golf course that was, diverted quickly. But and I think there was a third one. There was a third one. And then that crazy Cybertruck thing that I wasn't going for Trump, but necessarily, but there's just all kinds of madness and everything like that. And we know there's going to be more. riots or protests or whatever you want to call it. I love what South Park did when they came back from the coronavirus thing and said,
"What's going on now? Something at the town square. Everyone's gathering. Well, are we protesting or are we rioting?"
all looks about the same depending on who you are, I guess. So let's look at this real quick, because again, things are getting a little sketchy out there. This is from AP News. It says Trump's inauguration coincides with an unprecedented string of high-stakes security events in D.C., meaning there's a lot going on at one time, right? So everyone's going to kind of be thin in their resources. Everybody's going to be stretched a little thin, may not have the numbers. People may be tired and not on their A game. We'll look at a few of these. We won't linger here. Remember, guys, all the links that I use are always going to be in the show notes, so you can always go check those out. But yeah, so AP says the last time president was inaugurated, there was a global pandemic and a violent siege at the very spot at the U.S. Capitol where the ceremony takes place. This time, the event is happening as part of an unprecedented string of high-stakes security events in the nation's capital. The January 20 swearing in caps a 2-week stretch of national special security events, occasions of the highest national significance that get a boost in federal funding and are led by the U.S. Secret Service. The others include the electoral count, that was January 6th, on Monday, former President Jimmy Carter's state funeral on Thursday. There's also a major rally planned for President-elect Donald Trump on January 19th at Capital One Arena. And I will be honest with you, that's probably the one that I would be the most concerned about around that time, because he hadn't been sworn in yet, which is on the 20th. I don't know. To me, if something was going to happen, maybe the 19th. But then again, maybe security is better there than it is at the inauguration, where, wide open spaces and everything like that. Who knows? And again, I'm not hoping anything happens. I definitely hope nothing happens. But again, it doesn't hurt to have your antenna up. This has never happened before. Matt McCool, the U.S. Secret Service special agent in charge of the Washington field office, said of the back-to-back events, but we're flexible and adaptable. We're going to be prepared. Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance will take the oath of office from the west front of the Capitol amid extra tight security. Some elements, like a sea of federal agents and police, will be visible. Others, like bomb detection devices, snipers, and radiation detectors, will be harder to spot. The outgoing President Joe Biden will attend the inauguration, and it's customary for the living former presidents to attend as well. Trump, a Republican, is also putting his own mark on the event by being the first president-elect to invite world leaders to his inauguration. At least one. Argentine President Javier Milei, who's killing it, by the way, just doing a fantastic job, is planning to be there. Trump's inauguration will stand in stark contrast to Biden's 4 years ago, an event Trump skipped amid his false claims that the elect, blah, blah, blah. Now you get into all that, even though stuff's been proven. But that's pretty much it from there. Like I said, you've got Jimmy Carter's funeral, the ballot count, the electoral college count, the rally that he's going to do on the 19th, and then the swearing in, the inauguration on the 20th. I guess that's a lot for what all they have to do. In my mind, of someone who works Monday through Friday, and someone who used to work nights and weekends and everything, that doesn't seem like a lot. But then again, what all you need, what resources, how much homework you have to do before each event. I've never had to do any of that. So I'm sure it is a lot and a lot on them, but they know ahead of time. So I'm hoping they take all the precautions and everything's safe. Somebody I do appreciate their voice is Dan Bongino. Again, I mentioned him earlier. Former Secret Service, former cop, and got is it the biggest channel on Rumble, I want to say. One of the biggest channels out there right now, for sure. And I'll leave a link to his show down in the show notes below, obviously, and then a link to the clip that I'm about to use. But I did pull a little bit of the video from, I think it was a week ago, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in that ballpark. Might have been 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I think it was a week ago. But he had this to say about his concerns as well.
The inauguration's coming up. We're 2 weeks away. Folks, I'm really hesitant to talk about this, but I feel an obligation to put it out there because I don't have any other avenue to do it other than you guys in the Bongino Army. I don't think the Secret Service is prepared. And I think the Secret Service, along with the FBI, are lying to this transition team. This transition team knows it, And unfortunately, there's nothing they can do until they formally take power in 2 weeks. But when they take power in 2 weeks, Donald Trump is going to be sitting there exposed at the inauguration.
Yeah, so there you go. Again, former U.S. Secret Service cop, just, the real deal there. You're talking about the transition team there, something I didn't hit on. But yeah, like who you trust, who you not trust, what's the setup like, how things looking. He's going to be wide open. And so his concern obviously was more on the inauguration day. A couple of clips here from the FBI. I want to say both of these are the FBI. But we'll look at these real quick and see if they might seem a little suspicious or comforting. They may be very comforting to some people. But this is from George over on X. I will leave links again to all these down below so you can check it out. It says, oh no, the FBI just announced that there are no threats to President Trump's inauguration based on their knowledge. Should we believe the opposite? Should I be worried as an attendee? Let's see what they have to say.
We are not currently tracking any specific or credible threats to the inaugural ceremony or to the Capitol complex. We will continue to work closely with our partners to share information and identify and disrupt any threats that may emerge. We are not currently...
Okay, so again, is it comforting or is it... I don't know, like why talk about it if there's no threats? We making announcements that ahead of time, like, hey, everything's gonna be cool, guys. Don't worry, it's gonna be cool. It'll be cool. Or is this a conversation that's being had? Which I think it should be. But I mean, again, it's the FBI we're talking about. How much do we trust these guys? All right, let's look at another one here. This is Jake Sullivan on White House's thingamajig here. Let's see, from MJ Truth Ultra. What an odd thing for Jake Sullivan to say. I hope this is my last time at this podium. The only thing that would bring me back is an unexpected event in the next few days. ... Let's see what the video says, because we want to see what the ending of that statement is, sir.
I hope this is my last time at this podium, at least for a little while. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean, the only thing that would bring me back is an unexpected event in the next few days, which, as you all know, is totally possible given everything you've seen over the course of the past years. But if it is, in fact, my last time before you, I just want to say thank you for what you guys do every day. Thank you for... I hope this is my last time at this podium, at least for a little while. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean, the only thing that would bring me back is an unexpected event in the next few days, which, as you all know, is totally possible given everything.
Which you all know is totally possible. So, yeah, I mean, it's always totally possible. Again, I don't want to be one of those guys like, let me hang on every word everyone says and trust them, or let me hang on every word everyone says and distrust them. But again, I just think it's good to kind of keep your head on a swivel. And so, again, I would say for anyone, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, you vote for him or not, definitely pray for his safety. I'm not a Biden supporter. I can't stand Kamala, but I pray for their safety. I pray for their well-being. And, I pray that if they don't know the Lord, that they end up coming to know the Lord, So pray for Trump, pray for his staff, pray for their safety, and everyone that's going to be attending these events. Again, it is an opportune time for something really scary, really, really nasty to go down. And obviously we don't want that to happen. So hopefully nothing happens. But again, just throwing that out there a little bit. People are talking, people are a little concerned. And, as someone who doesn't want to see anything like that, I'm obviously concerned too. And hope all goes well. And I do hope this is a very smooth transition. So what do you guys think? Let me know. All right, next up, again, probably one of my favorite topics to hit on is the good buddy, Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, Jimmy Kimmel is kind of largely known to my audience as someone I don't care for. And his audience doesn't care for me. I think I made 2 videos on him a while back, and they came out of the woodworks and really, read me my rights and everything, took me to task. Last week, I covered Jimmy Kimmel again, kind of getting called out as dumb, his line of questioning dumb from Cher. who's also not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree for sure. But I was happy to share something on Jimmy because it's been a little while. Well, wouldn't you know it, Jimmy done spoke up again and popped up in my timeline. So I gotta speak on Jimmy a little bit here. So this is gonna be another Jimmy Kimmel segment, guys. But to be fair, again, it's not just Jimmy Kimmel who's doing this. And what is this I'm talking about? Well, let's take a look at this article from TV Line. It says Kimmel calls out Trump and gaggle of scumbags for politicizing wildfires, praises heroes of natural disaster, including Steve Gutenberg. All right, so that's a mouthful there. Let's roll on through it. It says a teary-eyed Jimmy Kimmel, shocker, I know.
Oh, what, you gonna cry?
No?
No, go ahead, cry. Let me see you. Let me see you cry.
All right, a teary-eyed Jimmy Kimmel was the first Los Angeles-based late-night host to return to air Monday. And while he took a moment to call out President-elect Donald Trump, a moment, these guys can't wait to do that. While he took a moment to call out President-elect Donald Trump and his gaggle of scumbags, his monologue was primarily focused on the real-life superheroes who have emerged during a very scary, very stressful, very strange week in the Golden State. We are back in our studio, which we had to evacuate on Wednesday, Kimmel began, after showing just how close the wildfires came to reaching the El Capitan on Hollywood Boulevard. He added, many of us had to leave our homes in a hurry. Some of our coworkers lost their homes. It has been terrible. And of course, again, I don't care for Jimmy Kimmel. He's a giant douche. All the late night show hosts have really shown that they are giant douches. Some of them I used to really enjoy. But they drank the Kool-Aid and they decided that they wanted to be somebody else. And that makes me sad. But again, I don't disparage these guys in the sense that I hope their house burns down. I hope they end up homeless. I hope they have loss. I don't. I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. I think it's terrible. And I have seen people out there celebrating it. And I hate to celebrate it. I mean, not to celebrate it. Again, but I think when something like this happens and it does affect the people that it does, it puts things in a different perspective. Like you look at how the people in Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas, and Tennessee have been treated for the hurricane relief versus and the coverage and everything. Again, I say the coverage because not a lot of coverage of the Georgia folks, and I know because I work in insurance, there's a lot of places in Georgia that got hit really bad. People living in tents, but you don't hear about Georgia that much. But California is getting widespread coverage, and again, it kind of reflects that contrast is a little shocking, a little bit. Now, I don't mean shocking as in like we're shocked, but it's shocking as in like hot cold shock. You go from one extreme to the next. It's like, okay, we're going to give you guys some money. Good luck. Bye bye. And over here, oh, we're going to make sure all this is rebuilt. We're going to do all this. And again, I don't wish any evil on anybody. I don't wish any of this on anybody. But I always look for the good to come out of it. And I think some good will come out of it. I think people will see that there is the stark difference of attention, funding, and whatnot put towards it. And then situations like this where you have the hypocrisy, I think people will see it. And I'm hoping to call it out right now and, show it to the world. So I'm going to keep going here a little bit. I'm just going to scroll down here. And of course, it's right after he gets started. He goes after Trump because that's what he does. Let's see.
Families, friends, colleagues, neighbors whose houses burned down. And the truth is, we don't even know if it's over. We had 100-mile-per-hour winds fueling this nightmare. As of tonight, the winds are back. And I think I speak for all of us when I say it has been a sickening, shocking, awful experience, but has also been, in a lot of ways, a beautiful experience because once again, we see our fellow men and women coming together to support each other. People who lost their own homes were out volunteering in parking lots, helping others who lost theirs. And tonight, I don't want to get into all the vile and irresponsible and stupid things our alleged future president and his gaggle of scumbags chose to say during our darkest and most terrifying hour. The fact that they chose to attack our firefighters, who apparently aren't white enough to be out there risking their lives on our behalf.
So Trump and so many people, including myself, we called out the opportunities that were missed. We called out the mistakes. We called out, the DEI. Look, DEI is not a good thing, guys. If your workplace can be diverse, equitable, and inclusive, and all this and that, that's great. That's fine. But a lot of times with the DEI, what happens is you're not hiring the best of a crop of people. You are not able to hire the best of another crop of people, so you can take another group of people that are maybe not the best. So instead of getting all A players, you're getting A players mixed in with some B or even C players, just so you can check your boxes. When it comes to firefighters, doctors, first responders of any kind, you kind of want them to all be A players as much as possible, right? Pass all the standards. You guys heard Pete Hegseth this week in his confirmation. That was a big thing he was talking about. If you hadn't seen it, go check it out. But it's like, I don't want to lower the standards to get more people into the military, because then they can't do the job requirements while they're in the military. And that makes absolute sense. And one of these tranny firefighters was like, someone asked me if I'd be able to lift their husband if they got stuck in the house. And my response was, well, what's he doing to get stuck in the house? No, your response is, yes, I can lift him. I can get him out of there because that's my job. That's the attitude that thing should have had. I'm sorry, I don't know what it was. But instead it's, I got sass and sarcasm and all that. I shouldn't have to lift him. Yes, you should. That's your job. It's your job. So Trump, his supporters, myself, and many others were calling out the shortcomings of the governor, right? Newsom, the mayor, the fire chief. This is where you went wrong. This things that need to be improved on. These are things that you already knew that were wrong. Yes, it was politicized. Why? You don't let a good disaster go to waste. And everything that was said was correct. Okay, it needed to be called out so it can prevent the next one. Okay, but these guys here love doing that when it's their turn to do it. Let's look at a couple more articles real quick. Again, we're just going to look at the headlines right here. From the LA Times, compassion and decency are lost amid wildfires as California foes seek cheap political points. From the Independent, stop playing politics with the LA fires and address the key cause, man-made climate change. All right, a couple of different disasters in that headline, huh? But let's take a look back. Not so long ago, when there was a disaster, a catastrophe, a tragedy that was fresh, and somebody politicized it as soon as they could. Wonder who that was.
As I'm sure you know and feel, this is another very sad day in America, another senseless shooting, this time at a high school in Parkland, Florida, where a gunman, a former student, opened fire yesterday. Again, 17 lives have been lost, more than a dozen people are hospitalized, and our president, as he should, weighed in on the tragic events this morning from the White House.
We are all joined together as one American family, and your suffering is our burden also. No child, no teacher should ever be in danger in an American school.
Agreed.
No parent should ever have to fear for their sons and daughters when they kiss them goodbye in the morning.
Agreed. So I agree with both of those statements. And here's what you do to fix that. Tell your buddies in Congress, tell Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and Marco Rubio, all the family men who care so much about their communities, that what we need are laws, real laws, that do everything possible to keep assault rifles out of the hands of people who are going to shoot our kids. Go on TV and tell them to do that.
You heard it. And of course, again, it's not just Jimmy Kimmel. They all do that. And they will all bitch and moan when it's something they care about. Oh, don't politicize it because it's Democrats. If it needs politicizing, it needs to be talked about, it needs to be talked about. Here's the thing. We already have laws in place that limit who can buy firearms, who can possess firearms. I mean, you know, it was not too long ago. Who was it? The son of the president of the United States illegally purchased a firearm. Your guy. And then he was pardoned by daddy. Your guy. So obviously you guys don't care about following the law with firearms, right? Again, I'm not going to get into that whole firearm debate, but we have laws in place already, like don't shoot people, don't lie, or it's a federal offense on your form. Don't, you know, there's already checks and balances and things in place. People don't follow the law. It is a significantly heavier and harder conversation for that than it is the wildfires. Because while we can say, hey, don't burn the forest, and it's going to burn anyway because that's what happens, we can say, hey, get the floor bed cleaned up, right? The forest bed or whatever you call it, right? Get the vegetation taken care of. Get your water reservoirs filled. You know, maybe hire capable people. You know, there's all these things that could have been done to maybe not prevent it necessarily, but it could have definitely restricted how impactful it was. And I think that makes sense to call out. I think it does. And maybe that makes me the hypocrite. I don't know. But again, crying Jimmy over there, the rest of the left don't want you to politicize it when it's on one side, but they're okay when it's the other side. Funny how that works, right? All right, we're going to move on. Sticking with the wildfires, though, because it is this next segment is kind of a bridge, I guess, to the entertainment world a little bit, because obviously the wildfires and everything that are going on out there are from, you know, California, Hollywood, you know, entertainers, you know, wealthy, successful people out there. So, you know, kind of a bridge here. We're going to talk about different celebrities, how they're responding to it, how they're dealing with it a little bit, and just the, you know, the makeup of somebody, in my opinion, the differences between that. You'll get what I'm saying here in just a second. We're going to go ahead and roll this first clip. This is how some people are reacting to it, and we'll edge through this because I just got it pulled up on YouTube here, so I can kind of scoot through it a little bit. But for those who don't recognize, this is Alec Baldwin. And this is the site right here, and I'll have it linked down below. This site, it's YouTube, but this page, channel, whatever, they have some montages of these different celebrities talking on their Instagrams or whatever. This is Alec Baldwin, and we'll step through it a little bit because there's a lot going on here I want to kind of unpack before we get to our next celeb.
Hey, just a quick video to say that I'm overwhelmed. I'm not even there, but I'm overwhelmed by what's happening in LA. I had a home there, different homes, rentals, living when I was married to my ex-wife and had my daughter Ireland. You know, the relationship with Los Angeles was a serious relationship. I was there for, I had a home in Los Angeles for 30 years, from 1983, when I first went out there to get involved in the business out there, until 2013. So literally 30 years I had a home in Venice, in Westwood, south of Wilshire, in Santa Monica, in the Valley for many years, in Studio City, and in Woodland Hills, and Santa.
So right there, to me, it doesn't sound like he's saying, yeah, I know the area well. Like, I've had this house, I've had this house, I've had all this money and all this success. We know Alec Baldwin by now, right? We kind of know this dude's demeanor here. So it's what some of these people do. You know, they'll act, obviously, but they'll make it sound like, such a terrible thing. I lost my multi-million-dollar home, but my other one, you know, it will never compare to that one. You know, it's stuff like that. It's like, it's these little digs. It's like, I don't know, these little digs in what they're saying almost. So I'm going to keep playing it, but it just sounds like, yeah, I've had all these homes. I've got all these homes and yada, yada, yada. But let's see what he says from here.
Santa Monica. I had a home, Beechwood Canyon. I had homes I rented or lived in for quite a bit of time. Over those 30 years, I lived almost everywhere, and except downtown or Silver Lake or Los Feliz and that kind of thing on the east side. And I've got many friends there. I still have more friends there than I have here in New York. And it's just not to be believed. It's not to be believed. The Palisades was a place that I went to for a social commitment every Thursday night for many years, for maybe 10 years of my life.
All right. You went to the Palisades for a social commitment every year for 10 years. Now, that could be anything, to be fair. That could be anything. But watch his behavior when he talks about it.
I drove to the Palisades. I was on the west side in the 310, and I moved to 818, and that cut into my time to go to these meetings I would go to on the west side. I used to drive over Malibu Canyon to go to a meeting I was attending, a social organization.
What is that? Guys, maybe I'm just like missing it here, and it's just not a big thing. Maybe it's AA. What was that wink?
I would go to on the west side. I used to drive over Malibu Canyon to go to a meeting I was attending, a social organization. I did that for years, drove over Malibu Canyon, Encinal Canyon, Topanga Canyon, you name it, and go to these meetings there for years and years and years. And Malibu, Palisades, I've got so many friends there, and it is absolutely surreal to me to see this film of this thing, what's going on there. It's just...
Okay. All right. You're done. You're done. It reminds me of, oh man, if I can find it, I'll plug it in. It reminds me of the Saturday Night Live skit, How People in California Talk.
I was thinking I'd take Candy View Drive over to San Vicente and then make a left and go on 405 North. From there, just get off of Mulholland.
I skipped Wilshire and took Beverly over to Santa Monica and took that all the way up. Shit, get home. Get back on San Vicente, take it to the 10, then switch over to the 405 North and let it dump you out into Mulholland where you belong.
I don't know where any of those places are. I don't know anything about California. I don't know anything about New York. I'm a Georgia boy. I haven't been anywhere. I know they're all important and special to some people, and like, world renowned. Like, you want to be on the 408 and ride down Malibu to the what? I don't know. I don't know any of those canyons or anything like that. Again, doesn't take away from the loss. I feel the loss, but got the creep vibes from Alec Baldwin, just reminiscent of all the homes he's had or has or rented and all the driving he did and all the social event he went to every week. That was super, super important for him. But I want to point out this one I thought was really good. So from the Daily Mail, this is David Spade. He posted this to his Instagram. I don't know if I actually have the video on here, if I can play that. But it says David Spade offered $5,000 to anyone who catches and gets police to arrest arsonists in Los Angeles. He's actually doing something. He's putting his money where his mouth is. And he's saying, like, hey, we've got to stop this. Something's going on. He's seeing it, right? It's not just, oh, I miss everything. I'm just going to passively allow everybody else. He says, look, we got people out here starting fires. They're making it worse. I'm losing stuff. I have friends losing stuff. There are people that aren't as fortunate as we are that are losing stuff. Like, look, I will pay you money, cold hard cash, to help us stop this stuff. And I think that's fantastic. Since the comedian 60 made the announcement on his Instagram stories page, amid reports of people starting fires as California continues to be ravaged by deadly wildfires. He said in a video filmed inside his car, whoops, I'm out in California and people are saying there's guys lighting fires out there. Make this worse. So if you can find someone lighting a fire and you catch somebody and get the cops to bust them and throw them in jail, I'll give you $5,000. So keep your eyes peeled and do what you can out there. David spoke out after a homeless man was detained by LAPD for allegedly using a blowtorch to light up discarded Christmas trees and trash in Woodland Hills. And I don't know. I think, yeah, other folks are not doing much anything. Let's play this and see if this is anything.
They just caught somebody, we're pretty sure was lighting fires, walking on with a blowtorch. They let him go. So if you can find someone lighting a fire and you catch somebody and you can get the cops to bust him and throw him in jail, I'll give you $5,000. So keep your eyes peeled and do what you can out there. Don't fake it though. No staging. Let me know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All the money that those people have out there and all the power and pull and everything they have. Man, wouldn't it be awesome if you saw more of them doing that? David Spade, who I've been a fan of for a long time, and to be fair, I enjoyed Alec Baldwin when I was younger, and he was doing stuff like Beetlejuice and then some other things. But yeah, David Spade. I mean, who'd have thought? Now here's this normal guy speaking up and saying, like, I'm seeing something going on. I say normal guy. He's he's a very successful celebrity. But I would say some people probably wouldn't say he's an A-list or anything like that. But dude's still in the game. I mean, he's been in the game for a long time. And I still watch his stuff. Anything that he puts out pretty much is usually pretty good to me. But yeah, he's out there doing his thing. And it reminded me of somebody else. And you guys may remember this story. But back on 9/11, another gentleman who's another fine actor who's been in all kinds of different films and shows and whatnot, Steve Buscemi, another Adam Sandler alumni, on his films, they seem to all work together, which is great. That's what I do on my films. We all have the same kind of group we work with. But on 9/11, Steve Buscemi actually stopped what he was doing and he went back and started working with his old firehouse again. He, on 9/11, actor, successful, didn't have to do anything. He used to be a firefighter in New York. He went back to his fire station, put on the uniform, and helped out. There's just a different breed of people out there. And this is what I think we need to see, not just in general, but when you look at celebrityism and the pull that they have. I mean, they all rallied behind Kamala, or I guess Biden, and then Kamala, whoever they were told to, and it wasn't enough. The award shows, the ratings for those dropping. Nobody cares anymore. Again, I'm a filmmaker. I should care. I would love to walk up those steps, get one of those awards or statues or whatever. Thank my God and thank my amazing cast and crew, the people that I've worked with. Shout out to the wifey poo, right? I'd love to do all that. At the same time, it just doesn't mean that much to me anymore. And apparently it doesn't mean that much to normal folks either out there that aren't in the business. Celebrityism has lost its importance, its relevancy. People just don't care. But if more people were doing stuff like this, it would change the game. Steve Buscemi, when I heard that, and I heard that when it happened, and I was in high school on 9/11. And I remember watching on the TV. And I can't remember how long after that. It may have been like a year after that I found out about it, or within that year, I'd say. But I heard that, and I was like, that dude right there has so much respect from me. I will support anything that he's in. Steve Buscemi was a real one for doing that. We know that so many people went to go fight those fires, save those lives, and they lost them themselves. What a heartbreaking time, right? And now we're in another heartbreaking time. And while David Spade obviously wasn't telling people to go out into the fires and risk their lives, he's trying to limit the additional fires, the additional chaos, the additional loss out of his own pocket. Maybe it's not all out of his own pocket. Maybe a gaggle of them will get together and help out and everything. But that's not only what a real man is, but that's what celebrityism is. I've got significantly more respect for David Spade and Steve Buscemi than I do take the biggest actor in the world who's never tried to do something like this, who's never put others before self. That's what it's about. So just wanted to come out here and not expose Alec Baldwin. We all know who Alec Baldwin is, and you have your feelings on him and with the Rust situation and everything like that. I know I do as a cinematographer as well. That's when I'm not the director, I'm working on somebody else's film. My main role is cinematographer usually. So I have my opinions on the Rust situation for sure. But regardless of that, this wasn't about Alec Baldwin. It was to paint a picture of most celebrities versus a handful that are just out here nailing it. Being somebody that you could look up to, your kid could look up to. And that's what celebrityism used to be. I'd love for us to get back to that. And I'd love for us as a nation to get back to that where we have real men that we can look up to that will put others, country, whatever before self. I love that. Absolutely love it. Hats off to you guys. Y'all let me know what you think about this segment in the comments below for sure. I'm sure this will stir up some conversation, love or hate what I say. But again, hats off to David Spade. And again, just reflecting back on 9/11, of course, hats off to Steve Buscemi. What an amazing guy he is. All right, guys. We're going to talk about some more nostalgia bait. Right, we kind of bridged away from the fires back into the entertainment world, and we're going to talk about some rumors, some stuff that's coming out in the works, in conversations, in pre-production or whatever, and get back to the film stuff. So, our first article right here, this one comes from Variety. Renee Zellweger stopped acting for 6 years because I was sick of the sound of my own voice. It was regurgitating the same emotional experiences. Okay, all right, that one's too easy. We're not going to do that one. Not going to do that. It's low hanging fruit. I mean, I agree, Renee, but nah, we're not doing that one. We're going to move on. All right, no, this is the real article. That was silly. It was silly. Sorry, Renee. Sorry. All right, this is from MovieWeb. And this comes, the story itself broke from Deadline, I think, but I tend to kind of like MovieWeb's take on things. New Gremlins and Goonies movies reportedly in the works at Warner Brothers because, of course. Because why not, right? The Goonies was one of my favorite movies as a kid. Loved the Goonies. Gremlins was another great one. Loved Gremlins, right? And that's probably why why they are being rebooted. All right. So, not a super long article here. We'll read through it. It says it seems the 2020s are keen on reliving the past, proving that nothing is truly sacred anymore. The new report has revealed that Gremlins and the Goonies will be the latest classic films from the 1980s. God, that feels so weird calling those classic from the 80s to get the reboot treatment. Although both franchises have kept relatively quiet for the past few decades, Warner Brothers has seemingly decided to mine nostalgia once more. Shocking. There have been murmurs of a sequel of both iconic franchises for a long time, but it seems they are finally closer to being made. According to Deadline, Warner Brothers Discovery is currently developing on new films for Gremlins and the Goonies. Christopher Columbus, who wrote the scripts for both original films, God, Christopher Columbus did a lot outside of just finding the country, right? You know what I'm saying? No, Christopher Columbus, Home Alone, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He was involved with that. Dude's just a lot of classics from this guy. Anyways, Christopher Columbus, who wrote the scripts for both original films, is working on another Gremlins follow-up. Meanwhile, the Goonies seems to be further away from being made, as only a treatment has surfaced for the next film. A potential Goonies sequel has long been discussed by the original movie's cast members, and it seems most are keen on reprising their roles from the 1985 film. Of course they are, because most of them aren't doing anything now. That said, it's unclear if either Gremlins or the Goonies will be a sequel or a straight-up reboot, but like most movies these days, we predict that the end result will be a little bit of both. As the report details, the studio saw massive shifts in leadership over the past week, which was foreshadowed by a newfound company mantra that focuses on auteur-driven work. In 2025, they are releasing several big-budget original films, including The Bride and Ryan Coogler's Sinners. However, they hope to fabricate new franchises out of Gremlins and The Goonies. They're not stopping there. Aston Laden also adds that a new Matrix film, dear Lord, is still on the way from Drew Goddard. Mixed messaging aside, WB has recently shown an explicit desire to revisit its beloved franchises, and Gremlins and Goonies are just the tip of the iceberg. So we'll kind of stop it there. I think there's like one more paragraph, but you get the point. So a few weeks ago over on Third Railify's Off the Rails, we had good guy Mike G on there. We broke down the Superman trailer. And in doing so, we talked basically about how films are being made now, how Wall Street's involved, the marketing, because he was in marketing with Marvel and Endgame and all that stuff. He was involved with all that. So he was kind of giving us an inside baseball scoop on what was going on. It does say in here that Gremlins is further along in the process than the Goonies, which makes sense because Gremlins is more marketable for merchandising when you think about it, right? You got the little, the agua or whatever it's called. They're going to be everywhere. There's going to be all kind of Gremlin stuff everywhere. So they're like, how can we merchandise this? When you look at the Superman trailer, what's the biggest, most heroic entrance you see of anybody? The dog. Not Superman. The dog. Don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, that's cool. But they know what they're doing. That's going to be used for merchandising. That's their baby Yoda, right? Gremlins is nothing but a bunch of baby Yodas. You with me? The other conversation we had with Mike on the show was we were talking about the sequels and the prequels and the reboots, and now everything is such a gamble. They have to market it with, what's kind of a sure thing, already an established franchise. And these are things that we've talked about before. We've known this. Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, all these. Everybody has spoken about this, and we knew that this was true. But he went into a little bit more depth. I'm going to link to that show in the show notes below if you want to hear some of what he said. He had some really, really good points there that I'm not smart enough to remember. Okay. I'm just being honest with you guys. But we're seeing this more and more and more. And, we keep complaining about the reboots and the sequels and the prequels and all this and that. And I think that's fair. Absolutely fair. Because again, as a filmmaker myself, I know that indie films are crushing it right now. And if you don't know that, I would highly recommend checking out Tubi. Tubi is a streaming service that is absolutely free. It does have some ads on there, but they're killing it. You got Netflix and Max and all these other, but Tubi's got a lot of indie films on there. Even some not so great ones, right? But they're supporting the artist, and I'm thrilled with them. So that's a great place to go watch some films. And they have other fantastic films like established. I don't know if they have Lethal Weapon, but they have like on that level, kind of films on there as well. I don't know why Lethal Weapon came to mind, but you get me. The point is that when they're taking risks, and they are taking risks, and studios are losing so much money, they have to try to bank their bet as best they can on a sure thing. Product placement, merchandising, all this and that. What's going to net us the best return? Which makes sense, but man, does that hurt art. But as much as they're spending on these films, they have to try to make something that is going to get them a return. If they made lower budgeted films, they wouldn't have to worry about it quite so much. Now, would they? Some people are out here making very, very low budget films, becoming internationally award-winning filmmakers, and could probably do that at a larger level, a larger scale, and do really good. I'm just saying. What do you guys think? Gremlins, Goonies, Matrix, do we need all this? Are they going to ruin it? I don't even know how they're going to do Goonies. Kids don't even go outside anymore. unless they set it in the 80s. I mean, kids don't even go outside anymore. They play on their iPads and their tablets and their phones and their computers, and they're Minecrafting and Robloxing nowadays. They're not going on treasure hunts and trying to figure out their town's secrets. They don't do that. What are they going to do? Let me know what you guys think. All right. Next up, we are going to do the 2024 box office recap. All right, guys, so it's time for the 2024 box office recap. Now, we are not going to go into super depth on some of this stuff, but we're going to go into depth a little bit here and there, kind of the kiddie pool depth, I guess you would say. But again, guys, for those of you that don't know, I am an internationally award-winning filmmaker. Love making films. Been a fan my whole life of art, of cinema. You can't see it necessarily, but I've got you see a couple. I got like posters all around my room and stuff. Great films of the past that have influenced me, or I'm just a fan of. So I really love film. I really love that art form, and I really love taking risks and seeing those pay off. Again, like I said in the last segment, they're not necessarily doing that anymore. It's all reboots, sequels, and this and that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10 box office for this past year. And this may come as no surprise to some of you guys, and maybe some shockers in here. I don't know. But starting at the tippity top there at $1.7 billion is Inside Out 2. I did see that myself with my family, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, what I thought about it. But $1.7 billion. Remember, some of the studios were saying like the $1 billion films are over with and they're gone and this and that and blah, 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 blah since the pandemic. But you had the Spider-Man movie come out, had the Barbenheimer. They've been proven wrong. They're just coming out with crap. Either that or they don't know how to advertise and market it. Maybe they need to give my boy Mike a call. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing all this out there, seeing what sticks, right? Inside Out 2, a sequel, $1.7 billion leading it up. Deadpool and Wolverine, the third installment of Deadpool, $1.3 billion with a B. These are both billion-dollar films, right? Now, I'm not going to go into how much they made or how much we think they made profit-wise, how profitable these films were, okay? We'll do that on another video, perhaps. But on this one, we're just looking right here at this. We are going to look at some of the bombs of this past year and their losses. But for the top 10, we're just kind of glossing over, that. We're not worried about that. We're just looking at the box office. Moana 2, a sequel. Almost $1.991 billion right there. Despicable Me 4. $969 million. Almost $1 billion. It'll get to $1 billion with, releases and whatnot. Dune. Part 2. Sequel. Second part. Not a sequel, I guess. Second part of the same story. Whatever. You have to go see it, right? $714 million. Wicked. Another established property, I guess would be the best way to put it. From the stage play to the silver screen here. Wicked. Excuse me, $698 million. Godzilla and Kong, again, another established franchise there. At number 7, $572 million. Kung Fu Panda 4. $548 million. Mufasa, The Lion King, another established franchise, a reboot, a live action reboot. I can't stand these, by the way. I've said that before, because there's nothing live action about these films that Disney is doing. It's still animation, computer graphic animation, CGI, CG, whatever you want to call it, label or what. It's not real. It's not real. You might get some real actors in there from time to time in some of these films, but most of the scenery and the artwork and the animals, and it's CG animation. They're just doing it to make money. And then last up for our top 10, $478 million is Venom, The Last Dance. So that is what, third one, I think, of the Venom, third. And that's really where we're stopping, top 10. That's all we're really discussing. But you can look on down here. Gladiator 2, Beetlejuice, sequel, Bad Boys Ride or Die. I think that's the fourth. That's the fourth one from them. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, established. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, established. Twisters, a reboot. It Ends With Us is like the first one that we come across that's original. And I say original, but it may not be. But as far as I'm aware, it is. And then we're back to an Alien movie. Yeah, I mean, you see what I'm saying here? I mean, yeah, they keep doing all this because it keeps working. But at the same time, that's all they're doing. That's all they're focusing on. So yeah, if that's all that's at the box office, that's all we can see. So we're a little limited. We're gonna go see these if we're gonna go. But man, I tell you what, you gotta really be pumping some stuff out for me to go and spend all that money at the theater, especially if I'm taking the whole family. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's go ahead and go from our top 10 over to Screen Rant to the 10 biggest box office flops of 2024. All right. So we're not going to read every bit of this article. We will go through, obviously, the 10 called out, a little details on those, but not a deep dive here either. Links for all this will be in the show notes below. That was Box Office Mojo. This is Screen Rant, both well established. Let's go ahead and hit number 10. This one, pisses me off. Let me see on my wall back there, maybe. Let me get a wide shot. I've pointed to it before. Right there. And then I got the DVD in here somewhere too. Joker was such a good movie. Oh man. The cinematography was so good. The story was so well done. The acting was so good. Joker was so good that I've not heard anything good enough about this sequel. Joker, what did I do to make me want to go see it? I want to say it was Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers. I could be wrong. It may be one of those other guys, but basically they were saying that the Joker sequel here made them dislike the first Joker. And I don't want that. I enjoyed the first Joker so much. I don't want to dislike it because of the crappy sequel. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't seen it. And I'm not going to. Usually I'll give stuff a shot. But when I heard that statement, like, I hated it so much and what it did and what it undid, made me despise the original. And man, I don't want to do that. I love the original. Some of the lenses that were used, I actually own some of the same lenses that they used on the cameras. Of course, they were modified, out the yin yang and filters and all kinds of stuff I don't have necessarily. But it's really cool to know I have like a lens, the same kind of lens that they used. So I can do that too. Because I'm a cinematographer when I'm not directing my own films. And I love cinematography. I love capturing that right look, that right balance of light and dark, color, shading, just the different color balances through. I love it all. I love that old cinematic, like real look. I don't like all this crisp stuff. I don't want to ruin Joker. I won't see this. Budget of $190 to $200 million. Box office was only $200 million, 206. So if you take the budget and depending on the size of the film, you can double it, or you can, somewhere in that ballpark between, 50% to 100% of the budget is put toward marketing as well. So, they may have had 100 to 200 million more may have been put into marketing. So they definitely, and then you split the box office with the theater. So they didn't make any money. Let's see. Number 9, of course, Madam Web. Madam Web. We have we talked about that one before. This is 80 to $100 million budget, and it did 100 million. So pretty much same thing as Joker. I mean, it just made its budget back, if you want to call it that. So it didn't make any money though. And in fact, once you add on the marketing again, advertising, it lost money. No question. Not interested in seeing that one either. Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. Don't care anything about it. That $50 million budget only made 38.2 at the box office. What's next? The Crow. Oh my God. It's another one. Let it die, bro. Let it die. Nobody needed to reboot this one. Look, and I don't have anything against old Skarsgård there. But I know it was a payday for him, but it didn't need to be made. I would have been so hesitant to like slap money unless I was desperate for money. I don't think he is. I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the feel of it in any of the trailers. Not one aspect of any trailer made me want to go see this film. I knew I wasn't going to go see this film. And I really like the original Crow. There's so much about that I like. $50 million budget, box office of $24 million. Didn't even get the budget back. Didn't even get the budget back. All right. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I was kind of shocked at this one, though, because this is a Guy Ritchie film. I mean, phenomenal casting in there and everything, right? But yeah, it didn't do good at the box office. I didn't see it either. Again, I don't get out much, and I don't go to the box office that much. We'll talk about some in just a minute that I did go see. But again, I got to kind of really, really want to go see it and really think it's going to be good. While this one looks good, I did not go see it. And apparently, neither did a lot of other people. Here. Let me tell you what Here was. Here, I thought was some, when I saw clips, trailers or whatever, I thought it was some fan-made little thing, or, some little jokey joke thing. It had, Forrest and Jenny back together and doing some stuff is what it looked like to me. It had Tom Hanks and Robin, I forget her name, Robin, why can't I think of her name? Robin Wright. And Paul Bettany, all kind of folks in there. It's a Robert Zemeckis film, which, of course, he did Forrest Gump. But I didn't think this was a real movie. I didn't see anything that made me think it was. I thought it was just a little fun little skit they were doing or something like that. So I would 100% blame the marketing on this one, because if you got Tom Hanks movie out there and these other names attached, Robert Zemeckis film, I think you probably could have made your money. $45 to $50 million. They didn't even do 14 million. 13.4 million. Let's go for Fly Me to the Moon. $100 million budget, box office of 42.2. I think the biggest problem there was an overly inflated budget. That's the case for a lot of these, to be fair. But yeah, Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, that's going to pull a crowd maybe, but the budget was too much, I think. It set up the expectations too much. Here you go, 110 to 120 again. For Borderlands, 33 million. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Apparently nothing. And nobody did. Argyle. This one was advertised really well. I thought it was going to do really good. But again, $200 million budget. $200 million budget. I think what happened was when people started seeing it, word of mouth got out. And I think it was kind of a bait and switch of what kind of movie they thought it was versus what it really was. And people didn't want to go see that. If you know, you know. You with me? $200 million budget. After that, they got $96.2 million at the box office. I mean, great cast. Just didn't have the gumph in there. Didn't get it done. And last but not least, Megalopolis. Again, the trailer, I did a trailer reaction video. I think it had already come out, but I did a trailer reaction video. And I thought it looked pretty interesting, you know, a little out there, but that's what all of, was it Francis? Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola. A lot of his stuff is like that, right? Of course, he did make Godfather. But yeah, Megalopolis looked interesting, but 120 to 136 million, and they only did 13.9 million at the box office. That is a gut punch right there, baby. Boy, I'd be scared to show up in that parking lot rolling in. But at the same time, you're Francis Ford Coppola. You made The Godfather. So you can probably just, you know, hang it out and do whatever you want to in Hollywood. Do your thing, Francis. But yes, that's you know, that's that right there. Gotta love that. So that was our top 10 for the box office recap. That was the biggest bombs. And yeah, that's pretty much how that looked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into some of the films that I've seen. Just a quick little recap. Again, hadn't gotten out much, hadn't seen a lot, and we won't go into a big depth, but I will give you a kind of a rating of 1 to 10 of what I thought of these films. And I would love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you've seen any of them, what you thought, what you would grade it differently than I. If you saw some other ones that were really good that came out this year that, you know, maybe you want to recommend, I'll go see them if I have time. I've only got like 82 on my list that I need to go see that friends are telling me about, and like 17 different shows that I don't have time for any of them. But, you know, I'll add yours to the list too. Yeah. All right. So love you guys. Love you. Really do. All right. So again, these are just films that came out this year. I'm only counting these. So, starting it off, Late Night with the Devil. I really like this movie. So I went over to a buddy's house. We watched Late Night with the Devil. May have watched another film with it. I can't remember. We went over, and I know what we watched, Interstellar and The Well. I can't remember if we watched those on the same night or not, but Interstellar got to me as a father. The Well got to me as a father. This one was just great. I was like, I like this one. I like this one. I don't remember the seatings when we watch this one or that one or whatever, but I go over there every now and then just to get out and watch some films. So we watched Late Night with the Devil. He and I both enjoyed it. And then I came home and I told my wife, I'm like, you got to watch this. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. And she did. She enjoyed it too. So this was probably one of my favorite ones that came out this year, actually. And it was I won't say low budget, but it was a lower budgeted one. It wasn't a big box office, you know, budgeted film or anything like that. So, you know, hats off to them. I remember we were talking about it, and I know Film Threat talked about it, and it got me curious about it, but there was some pushback because there was some AI artwork or AI, you know, images in there or something like that. It's a big deal because AI is making its way into film. When you don't have the budget, you do what you do. You know, the bigger budget guys are going to be doing it too eventually anyway. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but for little things like a little, you know, face or something in the background, I think it's perfectly fine. And I think that's all it was. No big deal. Anyways, Late Night with the Devil. Really, really enjoyed that. For my viewing pleasure, for my taste and everything, I gave it an 8 out of 10. I think an 8 out of 10 was solid. And again, I think you're going to see as we go forward with the other films that I've seen, I rated most of them pretty good because I don't see that many. So I'm pretty invested in finding ones I know I'm going to enjoy. Late Night with the Devil was awesome. Highly recommend that one if you haven't seen it. Another one, Maxine. This was the third installment in the X series. Now, I will tell you, if I had to rank them, X is number one for me. I thought X was fantastic. I loved X for so many different reasons. That time period right there, I love it. Maxine was close because it was in like the 80s, and I love that time period too when it's done right. and they did do it right. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But X was great. Maxine was really good. And Pearl was all right. Pearl was all right. I think my wife liked Pearl maybe more than one of the other ones or the most. I don't know, but definitely not me. I thought Pearl was the weakest. And again, I think it probably has something to do with the time frame in which it occurred and how far you could push the envelope in that and how they did it. I don't know. Maybe it's none of that. And I'm just making stuff up to talk to you guys. I don't know. Wasn't the biggest fan of Pearl. Didn't think it was terrible though. But as far as these go, it's X, Maxine, Pearl, in my humble yet accurate opinion. But I did enjoy Maxine. Maxine was a good one. But it wasn't great. So if I'm giving it a score, if I'm being completely honest with you on Maxine, and I went back and forth on this one, but I'm going to go 6 out of 10. It was good, but it wasn't great. Like X, I would probably give it an 8. X would probably be a solid 8. Pearl would probably be a 5. Maxine maybe even should be a 7. I'm going to go with 6 to be fair. I think it was more of a 6. Sorry. All right, let's see what do we got next. Immaculate. And there's the reason I saw it right there. Sydney Sweeney. Why'd I go see it? Because of Sydney Sweeney. I hadn't seen anything with Sydney Sweeney. And I had covered multiple stories of Sydney Sweeney over the year. So we talked about Sydney Sweeney, controversies, people saying, oh, she's not pretty. I don't know why people like her. And, body shaming this and that, blah, blah. She's got her own production company. She's out here making her own films. Like she seems pretty grounded. She knows she's hot. She's got a great body. She's utilizing that while she can. She's young. Why not do your thing? But she's again, seems to be a very, very smart businesswoman. She's out here starting her own production company, making her own films, making money on the back end of it. I mean, it's pretty cool. So I wanted to go see something that she had done. And this is the one that came out. I hadn't seen any of the Euphoria stuff, so I don't know what she does in that. But I thought Immaculate was actually pretty decent. Was it my favorite, to be fair? Because you're going to see here again. I'm going to give it out of 10. I'm going to give it a 6. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't that great. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't want to sound like Dave Portnoy here. Not Dave Portnoy. Is it Dave Portnoy? Yeah, it's Dave Portnoy. I'm thinking of Mike Portnoy all of a sudden. But I don't want to be like Dave Portnoy with like the pizza ratings, and people are like, a 7-8, man, that's bad. No, if I'm giving you a 7 or an 8, that's solid. I think one film has ever gotten a 9 from me. I think one film I gave a 9 to last year. I can't remember what it was. No film's got a 10. It's just, I mean, it's got to be perfect. And I haven't seen one yet. The Godfather Part 2, Terminator 2, Willy Wonka, the original, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Those would probably be 10s. But I haven't seen a 10. Okay. But Immaculate, 6 out of 10. And that's, not a slight against Sydney Sweeney. She did a great job. The film was really good. So hats off to her and all her success. Again, people have been dunking on her because, she's just a pretty girl. No, she knows what she's doing. She knows how to run a business, and I wanted to support that. Good for her. And what she does with her production company, I can't remember the details, but she gives back to the crew some kind of way. It's like pay it forward or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something along those lines. And I thought that was very, very admirable. So again, wanted to support her, wanted to check her out because I've talked about her several times, and she's kind of the it girl right now, one of the it girls right now. So I definitely wanted to see what she was all about. All right. A Quiet Place, day 1. A Quiet Place Part 2, Quiet Place, day 1. I like both the lead actors there. Perfectly fine. this is one of those times where like I didn't think we needed the story. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't need a prequel when it began. We didn't need it. We don't need the backstory. And if anything, it's almost like what I was saying earlier about Joker and Joker Part 2. It's like it almost makes people dislike the first one. This kind of took away a little bit to me from the first, Quiet Place. The second Quiet Place, I'm like, no. Let's not do this. So there were elements about it that were good and I enjoyed. There were elements about it I didn't love, especially with it being a franchise piece. So if I'm being 100% honest here, Quiet Place, I was kind of 50-50 on, so I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. And I'm really doing that because I'm thinking of like when I used to be on the board and screen for films in the film festival. You had to base things not off of whether you liked them or not, but was the lighting good? Was the audio good? Was the storytelling good? Was it captivating? All these different things that you would rate it on and then give your final score. In this particular scenario, I get to tell you what I think of the film, but I still had to take some of that into account because the film was done very well. The acting was great. Just didn't love it. But also didn't hate it, to be fair. So there's that. All right, moving on. Bad Boys Ride or Die. I'm going to be honest with you. I almost wanted to not like this movie. And I almost wanted to not support this movie because of Will Smith. How disrespectful was he of Chris Rock? And you may have your own views of that. And look, I understand defending your wife. I think you went about it the wrong way. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go see this film. I saw it with my boys, my filmmaking folks, and I gotta say, on a scale from 1 to 10, it was an 8. It was up there. I mean, it was good. And let me tell you why. 1, cinematography was awesome. Several scenes where it was John Wicky with all the colors and everything. I mean, just beautiful. It was so much beautiful stuff to look at, right? 2, the action in it was top notch. Awesome action. I mean, awesome. 3, the comedy was off the charts. And it was some good classic racist, offensive, comedy that I grew up on, which is what comedy is supposed to be. It's supposed to be edgy and push the line and we're supposed to be able to laugh at ourselves while we're laughing at each other and just having a good time. They did that. It wasn't the safe comedy that you get nowadays. So I like that they kept it old school. And of course, the acting was great. I mean, everything, the story was great. Everything was great. Of course, 8 out of 10, it could be better, but I really, really enjoyed it. And then doing the camera tricks and stuff. I know there's a lot of that footage out there. It was a beautiful work of art. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Spoiler, that is definitely the highest grade I'm giving any of these. So it is my number 1 pick of films that I watched this year, along with Late Night with the Devil. I probably enjoyed this one a little bit more for different reasons, but Late Night with the Devil was also an 8. So if there were 2 to watch and you like, or you had to pick based off the genre you liked, those 2 were my favorite for sure. But overall, I think this was my favorite. Just throwing that out there. Beetlejuice. Guys, I was obsessed with Beetlejuice when I was a kid. I had all kinds of Beetlejuice toys and decorations and you name it. I love Beetlejuice. And Beetlejuice cartoon used to come on Saturday mornings. I would go down for Taekwondo. I had my classes on Saturday mornings, and there would be a little waiting room, little place that, was like sandwiched in there with people while you're waiting for your class to go in and, the last class to get out. And I remember they had a little TV on there, little old tube TV. Beetlejuice would come on, the cartoon. So I get to watch that while I'm waiting to go into class. I'll never forget that. Great memories, great nostalgia. But a lot of that is what they do now, is that nostalgia. We talked about that earlier. They kind of hook you on that and bring you in, and sometimes it doesn't have a good payoff. I will say with Beetlejuice, I enjoyed it. I felt like some of the jokes were overplayed. I think there was a significant amount more silliness than in the first one. It's almost like they took the first one and mixed it in with the silliness of the cartoon series. Or I forget what the other thing I compared it to. They mixed Beetlejuice with something else, but it was just goofy. It was silly. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it. So out of a scale of 1 to 10, Beetlejuice does get a 7 for multiple reasons. I enjoyed it. It was good. I do highly recommend seeing it if you enjoyed the original Beetlejuice, but don't expect the original Beetlejuice. Part of me appreciates that they didn't just make that same movie again. But another part of me kind of wishes they would have held on to some of the stuff that made the first one great. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see what else we got. Last two. Deadpool and Wolverine. In fact, I just recently watched this one. I liked the first Deadpool so much, loved it, and I hadn't seen the second one. So I watched the second one so I could watch this one just to get all caught up and everything. Second one was great. Wolverine. I was obsessed with the X-Men when I was probably getting into like middle school. Probably not elementary school, probably middle school and high school. I used to come home from school and watch the X-Men animated series on TV. Had my little Dunkaroos, my little Sunny Delight, and I would watch like Animaniacs. Forget what else right off the top of my head, but I would watch X-Men, the animated series. And then I had like some little books, little cartoony books and comics of the X-Men animated stuff. And I got a couple of like real comics and stuff. And Wolverine was my favorite. And of course, Hugh Jackman's done a great job as Wolverine in the X-Men films. I remember when the first one came out, I was stoked. I couldn't wait to see it and saw it, loved it. I hadn't seen all of the ones that have come out. Apparently, I don't need to. Might need to avoid a few from what I'm hearing. But yeah, this movie right here was a great send off to that character. I'm assuming send off. We finally got to see Wolverine in the cowl. It was comical. It was funny, but it was a lot of struggling along, like side quest kind of things. I don't know. It wasn't the greatest movie I saw all year, but and a lot of it had to do with the box checking. Like we want this Wolverine, that Wolverine, this Wolverine, that Wolverine. We want Gambit, we want Elektra, we want this, there's just all this just built up to be the film that it was. And it was a very successful film. We talked about that earlier as well. In the box office, it was number 2 for the year, if I'm not mistaken. But if I'm going to give this one a score, I would do and I hate to do it like this, but a 7 out of 10. It's almost an 8, but I'm going to go with 7. 7 out of 10 on Deadpool and Wolverine. That's all I'll say about that. But I did really enjoy it. All right, and last up is Inside Out 2, which was the number 1 film last year with $1.7 billion, I want to say, $1.7 billion. Now, I had not seen the first Inside Out, so I had no frame of reference for anything other than knowing that these were like emotions or whatever. But I will tell you, and try to tell you without getting too personal, I have a 12-year-old daughter that just went into middle school. She's getting to that age where things are changing. Her moods are changing. Everything's changing. You feel me? So not only that, but she's starting to discover, things like anxiety, social anxiety she's struggling with from time to time. And she's quiet. She's very introverted. And so we're starting to kind of discover who she is. She's discovering who she is. We're discovering who she is. It's a beautiful journey that we're on. But really getting to know my daughter. Now that she's got her personality, she's kind of like leveling off who she is, figuring out this world that she lives in. Part of that world is her body, her mind, her emotions, her body, her soul, all that stuff, right? So this movie came along it came along at the right time. We went and saw it in theaters. Now, she had seen the first one. I hadn't. We saw it in theaters, and I was in tears because I was thinking about, man, is that how my daughter feels with the social anxiety stuff? Is that how she feels with that emotion? Is that the pressure that she's under? And it was such a great movie. It was one of those that, like, the timing was spot on. It came along and hit the nail right on the head when I needed it, for me, for my family, and I really appreciated it. Appreciated it for what it was. I did a review on it. I sing it praises, and I know it's going to sound weird to you guys, but I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Again, this is another one I probably could have went with an 8, but for various reasons, I feel a 7 is more honest, a 7 out of 10. But again, this is probably the number one I would recommend for anybody who has a child, especially if they're a teenage child and they're starting to come into themselves and figure out who they are and what this life is all about. This really, surprisingly, as a children's movie, family movie, whatever, really did an amazing job. Truly. So I do highly recommend that one, even though I didn't give it like an 8 or anything like that. But it is at the top of my list, and obviously the top of everybody else's because it was number 1 last year. But great film. Highly recommend. I highly recommend most all those that I saw. Most. But yeah, let me know what you guys saw down in the comments below. Again, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you recommend for me to add on to my 82-point list or whatever I've got going on here. But when I do find time, I do like to sit down and enjoy films, because between me filmmaking, me doing the show, me doing the daddy stuff, and the husband stuff, every now and then I'll find some time to sit down and watch a couple episodes of a show or watch a film. And I really, really, really enjoy that. So if you've got something for me to watch, let me know. I would love to interact with you in the comments down below. But that's it, guys. That's the show this week. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. Consider following me on your favorite social media. Had this little ticker here going all night, but at My Morning Mayhem is my handle pretty much everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Minds, X, Facebook. I'm even on Gab now, Truth, where, pretty much if you're there, I'm probably there. At My Morning Mayhem, because of course The Morning Mayhem is one character too long. So I'm at My Morning Mayhem pretty much everywhere across the board. Remember that we will have our weekly long-form show every Friday at 10 a.m. unless otherwise announced. We'll cut up the little segments, release those throughout the weeks, along with a mix of some reactions, shorts, and whatnot that we do there. Every first Monday of the month, we do our Monday Night Mayhem live streams, and we always have amazing panels, always have a great audience in the chat, doing a lot of interacting there. Would love for you to join us. Our next one coming up is going to be February 3rd. It is actually going to be one day after the 1-year anniversary of the show launching last year. So it's going to be our anniversary show for the Morning Mayhem, and I would love for you to be there with us. Got a couple of great folks that are going to be joining me, and we're going to take a look back on the year. We're going to celebrate. We're going to talk about going forward. It's going to be awesome. Let's see. As well as, let's see what else I got to mention. Oh, go check out PureBlood Media Group. I got a link down in the show notes below. Go check out the triple fact check sources on their news aggregator. Find a variety of their creators on their TV guide, which is really cool, and more. So these guys right here, support them. If there's somebody who has this logo on their stream, on their website, they're good. They're good people. They're good people. They're trying to get the truth out there, trying to entertain, and it's not the woke BS. Okay, you can enjoy listening to them and watching them. So with all that said, guys, that's it. Like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I really appreciate you. Again, we're getting really, really close to 1,000 subs. Would love to hit it before the 1-year anniversary, but we know it's no big deal. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. And folks, we'll see you on the next one.
I saw a commercial on late night TV. It said, forget everything you know about slipcovers. So I did. And it was a load off my mind. Then the commercial tried to sell slipcovers, but I didn't know what the hell they were.